Okay, hello. Welcome back to Socially Unapologetic Podcast. Today we have Amanda here, a social media strategist and owner of The Wolfie Co. I'm so excited to have you here today, Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
This is going to be a fun episode. First, I like to start all of my episodes with two truths and one lie. I'd like to put my guests on the spot. So, Amanda, if you can think of two truths and a lie, and then once we are done, we will just wait till the end. I will guess, and then people can kind of get to know you throughout the episode.
Okay, sounds good. Two truths and a lie. Alrighty. I lived in Costa Rica for 6 months. My brother is Steven Tyler, and I won a hot dog eating competition.
Wow. Okay, I like these. Okay, remember them for the end of the episode. We'll recap, and then I will guess, and then we'll tell people what the lie is. But first, I want to hop in and get our audience to kind of know a bit about you, about your journey, how you got to where you are today. So tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Amanda Kohal, founder of The Wolf Co. A lot of people call me Wolfie. Wolfie Co, little language nicknames in there. And I'm an ex-corporate girly. So I worked in corporate in marketing, social media for about, I think it was 11 years. And then during the pandemic, I think like most people in our industry, I kind of found my stride and things were really picking up. A lot of people trying to figure out how to get their businesses online. So I was fortunate enough to be able to quit my job. It was something I had already planned on doing. I'd given myself a little bit of a timeline and some financial goals and all of that kind of good stuff, being responsible. And then September 2020, I quit my job. And my husband and I, because we were living in a small condo in Toronto, working like back to back, literally in the office. And if you know Toronto condos, offices are the size of a closet.
Yeah.
So we were trying to navigate that. And we said, we're going in lockdown again. Do we maybe want to do that somewhere warm? So we ended up packing up our stuff and going to Mexico for a little bit. And it was absolutely fantastic. We got stuck there. And I say that in quotations, we got stuck there, but it was a beautiful mistake. We stayed there for quite some time, came back. My business was really rocking and rolling. I had set up a full-on social media agency, which I never thought I would do, to only burn it all down a year later.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I built up this team of 8 social media girlies, and we were taking on a whole bunch of social media management clients, a lot of strategy work, and I just got to a point where it was not working for me. And I really didn't want that like agency hustle and bustle where, it's the end of the world when a social media post isn't quite right, or, there's a glitch in Instagram, because that happens, I think, every second day.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this isn't for me. I really want to go back to a smaller team. I want to focus on strategy, and I want to write a book. I'm really curious about online patterns and communities, and I love experimenting and testing out new theories and how things will work. So fortunately, but unfortunately, my business partner at the time, it did not work out. She kind of stabbed me in the back a little bit, and I had to end that partnership, which was great in a way, because then I could get rid of the agency. And I ended up coming up with a social media approach called the Insta site, which I know you've seen, Brooke, which is really using the platforms for what they're great at achieving. So placing them into 2 categories, whether they are discovery and reach platforms versus whether they are nurture and conversion platforms. So with the Insta site, it got its name from the static Instagram portion of the strategy where you really treat your Instagram like a website, and you use things like Instagram stories to nurture and convert, and you use high visibility platforms like a TikTok or even a YouTube. Heck, even LinkedIn is getting out there in terms of reach to create your original pieces of content and then redistribute accordingly wherever you are present. So the getting rid of the agency was really a blessing because it led me down this path. And through this strategy, I've really been able to experiment again and focus more on strategy, the online patterns, how people truly interact with one another on the different social spaces, what those languages look like, because every platform has its own nuance. And that's where I'm at today, really focused on building people's Insta sites and helping them convert more on social media.
I love that. And I love that you brought up like the agency side of it, because I think we see that a lot. And I have a lot of clients that I even deal with that come and they're like, when you work with an agency, there's so many people in the pool, right? Like there's one person working on your TikTok, one person working on your Instagram. Like it's hard to nurture that relationship. Whereas when you're intimate and you have a team that's small, people know who's working on what, they trust you, and they can feel that like connection of like, okay, I'm going to message Brooke for specifically this thing, and I know that Brooke's working on my account versus like 9 million people are working on it. So I like that you brought that up, because I think that that's a lot that people deal with when it comes to that agency side.
Yeah, and I want to ask you this because what I was finding too is when we were in Mexico, I was actually really building my personal brand, and I got my husband in on a few things for a while until he was like, I can't do this. It's not for me. And I'm like, gosh, it's big. Like, we could be that TikTok couple right now, dearest.
Yeah.
But I was building this personal brand. So when people, filled in the form to work with us, they were really filling in the form to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was very clear in the communication. We set you up with your social media manager, your whole team, and everything like that. And, at the end of the day, while things were like going really well, they still always gave the feedback of, I just really wanted you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I was like, frig, I think I do need to go back to a smaller team where, I'm still the face, but like, what do I have capacity for that I can still scale? And then I really figured it out through the whole InstaSite method and how to do that, so that I was still very much with each and every one of my clients. And they didn't feel like they weren't getting my eyes on their content like they originally thought they were. Yeah. So do you ever find that too, when people find you, the expectation is, oh, I'm going to work with Brooke specifically?
Yeah. I think that's my biggest challenge in my business that I always deal with, because when I first started my brand in 2020, when COVID was like, I was like, oh, I'll never be a team. It's always just going to be me. And I didn't know that it was going to be what it is today. So when I built my brand, it was very much like, I am the face of the brand. Socially Brooke, like, this is who we are. And that's one thing that I always deal with. So now when I like meet with clients, I'm like, okay, like, yes, it's me, but my team deals with this, this, and this, and this. I oversee everything, but I'm not physically on every single account. And like, I've really had to set that boundary because it has come into effect. And I think that's one of my biggest struggles, is like, how do I not be the face of my entire brand when my name is on it? So
yes. And that is always the challenge, but like the clear communication is key, right?
Yeah. So I always think about like, maybe one day I'll branch out and like Socially Brooke will just be me. And then like, I'll build my business under like something socially with a name. But that's always been something that is a struggle. So I like that you kind of brought that up. In social media itself, obviously we both built our brands through social media. So how has that transformed for you? Like from when you first started in 2020 to now?
I mean, TikTok has become a big part of what I do. I'm one of those people where like TikTok changed my life. So I actually started going hard and heavy on Instagram stories. Like, I think it was back in 2019 and really in 2021 as an experiment of what would happen if I stopped posting to the feed and just focused on the people who were already following me in stories, who have been there to share my content, support my content, who I know actually want to see what I'm posting, because I was getting really burnt out from posting every day to Instagram. Because, with Instagram specifically, there's so many unwritten rules.
Yeah.
Everything has to be like tickety boo and like perfectly aesthetic. And I couldn't keep up. It was taking me like 3-4 hours to make a carousel. It's a full on slide deck. And I was like, oh God, this is like trauma from corporate days. What are we doing here? Why are we making all these slide decks? So I was like, okay, let me just do that. So stories really helped me get into this whole like Insta site approach and understand, okay, the social media platforms actually do work in different ways, and they're very good at different things. And like Instagram through and through is a community platform. Like it is so like such a tight knit space. So I was going so hard on Instagram, and at the beginning, I only really had Instagram as my social media platform. Like I put all my eggs in the Instagram basket. And yes, I had, a membership and an email list. So other ways to contact, which was fortunate because my Instagram did get dissed. I don't want to say it too loud because they're always listening.
They always hear us.
And still don't know why. And so I had no Instagram, but I teach people Instagram, and I'm like, okay, we need to figure something out. That's when I evolved over to TikTok and then realized, holy smokes, this is an amazing traffic driving platform. This is an amazing space to actually get reach and visibility on your videos if you aren't already established, because that's kind of the thing with Instagram is you need to have consistency. You need to be a little bit established in order for them to reward you with reach.
Right. Yeah.
So that's really where it shifted for me, is getting out of the Instagram bubble and trying out some of these other spaces and seeing how they can actually work really well together. And I know Instagram and TikTok have, a love-hate, mostly hate relationship. But together they are the golden couple in my eyes. Like if you treat your TikTok for specifically, like I want that visibility, I really want to reach as many people as possible, and then you go nurture them on Instagram, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And for those people that like haven't seen Amanda, you need to follow her because her stories literally kill me every single day. Like your ones of you like dancing and singing, and they're just so fun. And I think that also translates to your TikTok. So if somebody's coming from that TikTok and seeing that personality side, they get to see that in the stories. Whereas when you're just posting, you don't always get that personality side through the post. It's more so like educational, or sometimes you may get that like sentimental or whatever it may be, but on that stories, it's really truly who you are. So I love that you like connected that Instagram side or the TikTok side to your Instagram story. So you're like the same. People can feel like welcome and nurtured, like you keep saying.
Yeah. And I mean, I learned early on, especially in that experimental phase of I'm just going to do stories, that and you've heard this before, your superpower is literally that you're you.
Yeah.
And there's no other you. Like there's a million bajillion social media managers out there, but I've had people who have reached out to me because of my stories, and they're like, I don't know how we can work together, but I just know I need to work with you.
Yeah.
So like, how can we make this happen? And it's from showing my personality. Whereas got personality on TikTok, but it is more like you're coming here for tutorials, but you get like the unhingedness in my stories. And that's something that I just share with people in my stories. And my emails are a whole other level of unhinged. So that's different and special to people who choose to consume content there, which I think is important because, having visibility across platforms takes time. You know this. Mm-hmm. You can't start on every single platform.
Yeah.
But then being able to have like the consistent brand and what you're known for while still offering unique pieces of content.
Yeah.
And I guess like the delivery of the content needs to be a little bit unique, because then why would somebody, watch your reels over your TikToks versus your emails versus your tweets or your X's or whatever the heck it's called now.
And I think it's important too, like, especially because the social media world is so big and there's so many people in it. It's like collaboration over competition too. Like, we all bring something different to the table. Like, somebody would work with me because of me versus like somebody would work with you based off you or like what you offer. Like, we all offer different things and expertise, and it's like people pick that because they see our pages. Like, I have people come to me all the time. They're like, I saw your page, I love what you do, I love like everything about, I just want to work together. It's like, versus if somebody goes to another social, like, you pick it off what you see online, right? And then they get on a call with you and they get to know you and kind of that, but their first initial reaction is, I go to your page, I see who you are, and I want to work with that. And so I think that's the important thing with social media in itself. Like, a lot of people are like, well, why do you interview other people on social media? Like, it's like, because we're all different. We all bring something different to the table. And I'm not like scared by that, because if somebody doesn't want to work with me, that's okay. They'll find somebody that fits with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't want to be working with people that aren't a good fit too.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, early days, you got to do what you got to do, but you will quickly realize, especially in social media, you learn a lot about people.
Yeah.
And more specifically, like, who you wouldn't want to work with.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's so important. And I think as I started almost 5 years ago to now, like, who I used to work with versus who I work with now is so different and so vast. And I work with like a variety of different people because I just pick it off. I don't pick it, but like, I'm not afraid to say no to working with somebody if I don't think that it works, because it's my mental health can sometimes not handle it.
Yeah. No amount of money is worth like that type of stress. And when the vibes are off, it's not good for either party, right?
No. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
What has been your biggest reward in your business or in the journey of being an entrepreneur?
I think it is working with the different types of personalities, because it's not only helped me evolve, my offerings, but it's really helped me set up my back end systems.
Yeah.
And just know, like, after so many instances of getting those frequently asked questions, okay, we need to build a system in place for this now.
Yeah.
So we're not doing everything from scratch. It's taught me a lot about, people and myself. Like, how do I want to work? How do I want to actually have balance and live my life outside of work? How do I want to be known, and not just as like a social media girl, but like for me as a person?
Yeah.
So I think that is honestly like the biggest reward. Yeah, it's just like ongoing learnings, and it also fuels my like curiosity for those patterns and how people kind of navigate social.
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned work-life balance. So I want to kind of talk about work-life balance, because I know in our industry, some people, I first never knew what that was. So what does work-life balance mean to you now?
Okay, I got a lot of boundaries. But it's all good. We communicate them right up front. I mean, it's in our contracts, it's in our proposals, it's in the welcome kit, FAQs, hours of operation, because I know how I can be most effective, that will really benefit the client, right? So I usually take Mondays for me, no meetings on Mondays. And this was something that I was like actually kind of doing in corporate too, because I'd always have like that one eager beaver team member. Not to say I wasn't eager in corporate, like your girl was climbing the ladder in heels in a cute ass outfit every single day. But they would want like an 8:30 a.m. on a Monday. I'm like, bruv, can we have a hot second to, catch up about our weekends and like check our email? before we're just diving into a meeting. What are we going to do here? Because now I'm scattered for the rest of the week. So I always kind of like block the mornings off with like a fake meeting.
Yes.
So nobody can book something. And then same with Fridays. Like I like to have the Friday afternoon off. And, you know, you watch my stories. I do this series called Gummy Fridays, which I usually forget to even like post what I'm doing. I have to like recap it later because I'm just vibing. I'm chilling, you know? And a big thing for me that shifted too, being in social media, we're always on our screens. So I had to start integrating a lot of off-screen activities.
Yeah.
So kickboxing is like a big part of my life now. I'm taking piano lessons. It's been a dream of mine since I was a child. And I'm doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I go for like 2-3 walks a day. Mm-hmm. Anything to kind of like be off the screen. And on top of that, I read just like a crazy person. So first thing in the morning, instead of scrolling my phone, I read instead.
Yeah.
And kind of start my morning off like that, because I was finding early days and when I had the agency, you know, I'm up at like 6 a.m. I maybe had like the first half an hour of my day to myself, but usually not. I'd check something and then I'd be spiraling all day and just like scattered, and I could never get my footing. So I had to say, you know what, we're not doing this anymore because it's not productive for me and I'm not getting the result I want for the client because I just can't like figure out what I need to even do. So it's really like as much off screen time as I can squeeze into a day, I will do it. And, you know, just like you said, I'm really not scared to say no. Mm-hmm. No. Like if something doesn't fit with me, I am like, no, I just don't think this is the right time. And we move forward, and I'm good with that. Yeah. I found, you know, and this sounds like a little bit woo, but whenever I have said no, and even in the back of my head where I'm like, oh, but the money is good. Like, should I just do it and suck it up? The universe always rewards me with an opportunity that is the right fit. Yeah. Almost within 24 hours after I guess, passed the test of saying no.
Oh, I like that you brought that up because I feel like that's so true. And when I first started to now, like I would always feel that guilt. Like, well, the money, like I can't say no. Like I need to like get my footing, grow the business. And now it's just like if I even like question something, I'm like, no, not worth my energy, not worth my time. Because there was times when I was working 12 hours a day and I was on my phone, literally my phone screen time would say 12 hours. And I was like, this is so unhealthy. Like I'm not a good person in my business anymore. I'm not a good person in my personal life. Like I've affected everything. And then I wasn't working 100% to what I could offer. Whereas like when you step back and you take that time for yourself, you can show up 100%. So it's like, you kind of realize those lessons when you go through and life as an entrepreneur just in general, right? Like we all have to go through it, I feel like, to be able to learn from it. But I love to like talk about it on the podcast because people who wanting to start a business or are just starting, it's like you kind of got to go through the motions. You got to figure it out. You got to like experience it to know that you got to make the change. It's like there's no the recipe for how to have that work-life balance. You genuinely have to fail, figure it out, and then you can succeed from it.
Yeah. And I'm always like stuck between the space of, do I tell that new social media manager that they do not, in fact, want that agency? They just think that's what they want? Yeah. Or do I let them figure it out? And I'm usually like, let them figure it out because that's literally the only way you're going to be able to know what do I want to do moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I notice you are really on your own, like health and fitness journey too. And has that really helped you with the day-to-day as well and minimizing your screen time?
Yeah, 100%. Like I started coaching fitness like in the mornings or at night. So like I really am able to disconnect from my phone. Like, and I'm able to connect with other people in different industries and like chat. And like, it's not always about work. And it's so nice just to be able to like put my phone away, focus on something that I love, which has always been fitness and like health and like kind of prioritizing that. And then when I'm not coaching, I'll either be like working out on my own, but like working out throughout my day is a non-negotiable. Like I will always make time for myself and for my fitness, because I realize when I don't, I'm not a good person to be around. I'm genuinely
Okay.
just like stressed. I'm anxious. Everything affects me. So it's like I need to make sure that I work out or do some sort of physical activity, whether it's like my rest days, I'm taking a walk or I'm going to like yoga or whatever it may be, just for myself and my mental health and just like my mind to be clear. Like I cannot be thinking about Instagram and social media 24/7 because I would go insane. I have gone
Yeah.
insane.
Yes. I know. It's really, I think most social media managers and strategists have hit that breaking point.
Yeah.
Because I'm generally like a really bubbly, like easygoing, just happy go lucky girl. And when I hit that point for me, which was like 2022, 2023, even last year, I didn't really feel like myself. You know, my husband, my closest friends, my family were all commenting on that. They're like, are you there? Where are you?
Mm-hmm.
This is not computing, because whereas before, if something gloom and doom happened, I'd be like, oh, it's fine. Like it'll all work out. We'll move through this. It'll be a little bit rough, but like, that's just life. Like
Yeah.
we got it. We got it. But 2022, 2023, I was like, this is the worst. Nothing's ever going to get better.
Yeah.
So now I can confidently say, you know, the end of last year, moving into this year, my husband and everyone is like, wow, we noticed like such a difference. Like you're so happy. And I honestly think it's from being off the screens more.
No, it's true. It is true. Like social media is such a blessing in itself for businesses and business owners and like creators and all of that, but there's also a toxic side to it, and you really have to like weed out what's important. Like something for me that I did was like I don't follow people that bring negativity into my life. Like if I'm on social media and I'm scrolling and you are negative, I unfollow. Like I'm so sorry. Like I just cannot see that. I'm consumed by social media 24/7. I'm working on people's social media all day. Like when I go for myself, I need to see things that are like positive or honestly like mind numbing. Like I want to see somebody sitting there talking about their new makeup that they got, and I just like will watch it, and it's just like so like my brain's just like, oh, finally we can just listen to something that I genuinely just like get to shut off my brain to. So I think that
Yeah.
that's like a huge part of social media in itself is like you have to set those boundaries for yourself and what you consume on social media, because there is so much toxic things out there, like X or whatever, like Twitter, whatever this it's called. I hate that it's called X now, but like sometimes I'll open up X and it's like just negativity about the world, and I'm like, yeah, no, we're not dealing with that today. I don't have capacity for that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I did that little look through of who I was following and mass unfollowing of accounts that just did not make me feel good. And sometimes it wasn't even that they were posting anything negative. It was even a lot of like the folks that post too much of the highlight reel and not enough of who they are, that I was
Yeah,
like, I can't follow this, because I'd get these like twinges of, ooh, why am I not there?
yeah,
And I'm like, that's not right. Everyone has their own path, but I'm just going to go and unfollow.
yeah. No, it's true, and that's just the whole aspect of social media. It's just surround yourself with positive things and post positive things, but also it's okay to show that like vulnerability and like that not everything is all dandelions and flowers, because we all
Yeah.
know it's not. Who is your biggest inspiration when it comes to entrepreneurship? Is there like a certain person or like an author, a podcaster? Who is that like person that you kind of look up to when it comes to the entrepreneurship journey?
Um, there are two. Uh, I really love Caitlin Bristow,
Yeah, love.
Canadian girly, former bachelorette.
Yeah,
Um, I like love how she puts herself out there. She really feels like a real person, even though she is very much celebrity. And you get to see kind of all aspects of the business. And I just love the way she's gotten her toes into a few different spaces, podcasting, TV hosting. She's Dancing with the Stars, and she has her wine line. I love her. And another woman that I absolutely adore and like appreciate the hustle, but in a healthy hustling way, is Heather McMahon. She's a comedian, and she started her journey on Instagram stories as well. Shortly after her dad passed away, she got on Instagram stories. And I think, like many comedians, you find humor in really traumatic points of your life. So she started to build a following that way and made a podcast. And now she's hosting and doing comedy shows and tours. And I love the authenticity that she brings. I mean, I could tell you that Gary Vee at one point really inspired me, but I was finding, and while I think he's brilliant, and to sit in a room with him and just like see him work and the wheels turning would be awesome. I didn't find it as realistic to look up to somebody like that who has a massive team, whereas like a woman like Caitlin and Heather, I found like they always referred to themselves as like armies of one. They had a couple of people helping, but it was very much them like figuring it out. And we saw them both kind of hit that rock bottom space and then build their way back up.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love seeing the full journey, not just the end result of like, wow, Gary Vee has gotten so far. And not to say he did not work hard, because that man's worked his butt off. But yeah, I really look up to him. And like, is it horrible of me to say that I also have been obsessed with Spencer Pratt for freaking years? I'm so happy he's like finally getting the limelight he deserves again, because he is a social media marketing, like PR, everything genius.
Yeah. For people that have not followed Spencer Pratt, you need to follow him on TikTok because it's just so entertaining. I do like to watch him and Heidi, and I remember it when like watching them on reality TV and like their whole relationship unfolding. So it's like crazy to watch. Like you see somebody in that setting to now who they are today and like what they're going through, and it's just like crazy that everybody's a person. Even people you see online, we're all humans, and like everybody deals with different things in separate ways. So I like that he's kind of just like posting about it because people can relate now and they can feel that like he's a person and he's not just somebody that you saw on social media or on TV 15 years ago who was a terrible person.
Yeah. No, and I mean, that was all orchestrated too.
100% scripted.
He knew what he was doing. But yeah, I mean, him, Caitlin, Heather McMahon, they all actually taught me a lot about certain types of consistencies and how to really build that tight-knit community. Like an example from Spencer Pratt is every single day on Snapchat, he'd go make his espresso and listen to Taylor Swift, Look What You Made Me Do. And it was this repetitive, literally for years, he still does this.
Yeah.
But people go and they look forward to seeing that. So little things I picked up from them on really connecting in niche ways with your community to then really grow. Because I do believe like you grow at an explosive rate when you focus on the people who are already following you. Because they're the ones that are sharing your content, right? And like talking about you and in a positive light. So,
I think that nurturing your following is always the most important thing. Like people are always looking for that. What's next? I want to find that new community. I want to find those new people. But it's like, what about the people that are following you? Why are they following you? And I always say that to my clients. It's like, what do they like? What do they engage with? Because those are the most important people. Those are the people that are liking your content. They're sharing your content. They're absorbing your content versus somebody that's just coming to your page. They don't know who you are. These people know who you are, what you do. And it's a referral at the end of the day. Like if you nurture that, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I follow Amanda and I see her all the time. Like she does this. If you want that, like reach out to her. Like I feel like I know her. And sometimes I get that with people. They're like, I feel like I know you. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, that's good. I'm
You're
like, I
like,
love
cool,
that.
because I just, have my little routine and don't really talk to that many people. And
I'm like,
but
oh,
yeah,
I'm like, I'm glad you know me because sometimes I feel like I don't, but here we are.
no, I know.
Okay, Amanda, we are going to circle back to the two truths and one lie. So, do you want to repeat what they were, and then I will take a guess?
Hmm. Okay, so lived in Costa Rica for 6 months, won a hot dog eating competition, and my brother is Steven Tyler.
Okay, I'm going to say it was the Costa Rica because you said it was in Mexico throughout the episode. Is that the lie?
Yeah.
Okay.
I realized I was like, shoot, I should have picked something different because I'm going to mention Mexico.
No, I like that.
Um,
I like that. That
yeah.
was good. So you won a hot dog eating competition.
Yeah, it was for charity,
Okay.
and we had to do a fashion show after. And
Oh,
I'm like, this doesn't really work. But when you're young, you don't bloat the same
yeah,
way. The
yeah,
body
yeah.
bounces back, and you're all good. But yeah, she won a hot dog eating contest. I think it was 14 hot dogs.
Wow.
Yeah, bun and all.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then for those, maybe I'm aging myself, but Steven Tyler is the name of the lead singer of Aerosmith. So yeah,
And that's
like
your
people
brother.
are always like, "Oh, your brother's name is like Aerosmith's name," and I'm like, "Yeah," but
I love that.
I'm not related to him. But I
Oh,
am.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, Aerosmith is not my brother. My brother's name just happens to be Steven Tyler.
Oh, okay, okay. I love that. Okay, well, Amanda,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us today. The audience definitely got like a good gist of who you are and what you kind of offer as an entrepreneur. So I'm really glad that we had that chat, and it was so nice talking to you.
Yes. Thank you so much.